waiting to break into that top 8 at an international championships, particularly Oceania one. I have high hopes for him. Big expectation.
The thing about Clifton is that his name has been around for a while now. Definitely has been around for quite a while, and very nice to see him at these top tables. And of course, his opponent being Jon Eng. Jon has come up from the seniors division in the past, has had lots of success in the past, and no surprise seeing him here in these top tables. Now, both of these players are bringing down their prizes, so we are getting started right away. We see Metal Energies on the left, and we see a Raichu and a Alolan Raichu on the right. So we know what this matchup is, right? We know that it's going to feature the two potentially most popular decks of the weekend.
And this is a matchup I expected to see a little bit more of, actually. I thought there was going to be a lot of Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia decks running around, a lot of Pikachu and Zekrom GX. For different reasons, though. I think Arceus, Dialga, Palkia with Zacian V is new and exciting and fun, and everyone's hyping up that Zacian V.
Well,
Pikachu and Zekrom, it's a more familiar.
There's the handshake, which means we are getting underway. Clifton Goh against Jon Eng in this round 4 matchup. Jon Eng gets to go first. We already see a Zorora GX in the active position, and we see a Quick Ball finding him an additional Pokemon, potentially going to find himself that Pikachu and Zekrom Tag Team GX, which is kind of the namesake of the deck. This Pokemon just definitely wants to be the first attacker if possible. Get yourself set up with additional energies and kind of just set yourself up with some full blitz action. On the other hand, you see the Zacian from Clifton. We see how this V Pokemon from the new Sword and Shield expansion has made a showing in different types of decks. We've already seen it featured in that Mill deck from last round, and we saw it featured in an Arceus, Dialga, Palkia deck in round 2. So no surprise to see it again. It may be the most popular new Pokemon that we're going to be seeing this weekend.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it's the poster boy for Pokemon Sword and Shield, right? It's one of those big two Pokemon that everyone's talking about from the game. So it's great to see it's translated over to the trading card game. I'm really excited to see on Jon's side, actually, that Zeraora GX. It's a card that a lot of Pikachu and Zekrom GX decks tended to drop a little bit because they didn't think it was as powerful. But now that Absol has seen a resurgence in the metagame, love to see Zeraora GX. It sort of gets around that Dark Ambition ability of Absol.
Now, he did find that Pikachu and Zekrom with that Quick Ball, attached to Lightning Energy, and then played Dedenne. He Dede changed into a brand new hand to 6, discarding his old hand. So that's a very aggressive start here from Jon. Of course, remember, because he went first, he does not have access to a supporter card on the first turn. So most of the time, you see a very uneventful first turn for players. But with Pikarom, you kind of want to get going as fast as possible. And now that we see a switch, we see exactly that. We see Jon now play a Jirachi and potentially promote the Jirachi after, of course, retreating that Pikachu and Zekrom for free thanks to Zorora GX's ability. Now, that means that Jirachi's going to allow him to find another trainer card to go with that new hand to 6 he had with that Dede change. This is an explosive start for being first on this game.
Yeah, very explosive, very sort of aggressive start. Had to use that Dede change to effectively use it like a supporter and refill his hand. But what I don't like to see is that 2 Electro Powers hit the discard pile, and that's a pretty important card in this matchup. You often need to increase the damage output of the attackers that you have using that Electro Power to get those key knockouts on things like Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, and Zacian V. If you don't have access to Electro Powers, you're kind of stuck at the numbers that are printed on the card. You can't put an additional 30 into your attack.
You're absolutely right, and that is one of the key factors in this matchup. Now, some people choose to go with like Electro Charger to go with that, but in this particular case, we may not be seeing something along those lines. Now, Jon does pass the turnover after Stellar Wishing. I didn't get a good look at what he found with that Stellar Wish, but in most cases, you know, it does its namesake right, and it does end up helping you out for your following turn.
Yeah, I like to see that Mew coming down on the side of Clifton there, recognizing that Pikachu and Zekrom GX's Tag Bolt attack, its GX move, could potentially come into play here to put some damage onto a benched Pokemon, but Mew says not the case. I have an ability that stops that.
Not today. Now, Clifton immediately plays that Professor's Research, which discarded a Metal Energy. It also discarded a couple of other little things like, you know, Custom Catcher and whatnot. So not what you want to see on those discards, but that Metal Energy could be useful if you find some Metal Saucers. Now, remember, Clifton gets to start playing as the first supporter. He should be the one that gets in the lead when it comes to attaching energies. However, this matchup is going to be, I mean, honestly, the best way I can describe it is that you cannot blink in this particular matchup. Like, once the attacks start coming, they do not stop. You need to You need to make sure that you can continuously knock out your opponent's Pokemon, because if you can't, then your opponent will take a big, an early victory there. So we are going to be seeing potentially something like a 5-6 turn game if both players get exactly what they need. And if so, that means that we're going to be seeing a lot of drawn cards like Metal Saucers and stuff like that to keep the aggression going.
Yeah, you thought Pikachu and Zekrom GX mirrors were quick. Well, this is another level. This is taking sometimes 4 prizes in one turn. So
oh, yeah.
it's a whole nother game here. Looks like he did get the Arceus and Dialga Palkia down with the energy there, but I'm not seeing signs of a turn 2 Altered Creation GX. Sorry, turn 1 Altered Creation GX, that is.
Yeah, turn 1 Altered Creation GX is very hard to pull off. You definitely do not bank on it if you're Clifton or just about any player playing this Zacian ADP deck this weekend. It's just it requires a lot of resources, and most of the time you're not going to pull it off. Sometimes decks don't even go for it. They don't even try to play those energy switches to try to pull it off. But what you do want to do is get that energy onto that Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia tag team, which is what Clifton did before passing over the turn to John. Now John is quick balling for a Dedenne. He may be playing a second Dedenne in this game. And, I mean, sometimes you have to do what you have to do in order to get that big turn 2 attack if you're a Pikachu and Zekrom tag team.
Yeah, it's not really ideal from John, though. He doesn't want to put down the Dedennes because they are just easy prizes for Clifton in this case. Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, after it uses Altered Creation GX, can take an extra prize. Dedenne already gives up 2 prizes, doesn't have that much HP. It's just two Dedenne knockouts away from winning.
Yeah, and perhaps just as importantly, look at his field, right? John has a Jirachi, he has his Aurora, and he has 2 Dedennes in play. The only real attacker in play is that Pikachu and Zekrom. And remember that Pikachu and Zekrom wants to start powering up another attacker. So, like, you're just limiting a lot of your options by playing this Dedenne. But, you know, sometimes you just have no choice, and that's what the Dedennes are in the deck for. They're there in order to bail you out of sticky situations, and that's exactly what John's hoping that Dedenne ended up doing right there, as we do see him play it to draw a new hand of 6. And this hand of 6 has, well, it has a few cards in it.
Yeah,
Looks like another quick ball as well.
Some very useful pieces there that are going to allow him to find extra Pokemon, also energy, and ways to switch that Jirachi out of the active position as well. So he's actually in quite a good spot.
Almost played the supporter first, but decided to Stellar Wish first. Found a switch with that Stellar Wish.
Yeah, I think that sort of order of operations is quite good because it allows you to sort of informs your Volkner. If you found one of the pieces you wanted off the Stellar Wish, then you could Volkner for something else.
Right, so you do see here how Volkner allows you to find a lightning energy, but on top of that also find an item card. So maybe he was going to go for a switch, but now that he found the switch in hand, he can start to set himself up for a potential double custom catcher in the future. Of course, custom catcher and Volkner just seems to be a very natural pairing. And no surprise to see John find himself a custom catcher right there.
I'm sorry, I'm going back.
So he does still need to find another Pokemon that he wants to power up with that full blitz attack of Pikachu and Zekrom GX. He can put all the energy onto the Zeraora GX or the Pikachu and Zekrom itself, but that's a little bit risky, you know. Then if the Pikachu and Zekrom gets knocked out, well, you've lost all your energy.
And this is another thing that I was thinking about. He might have to turn that Zeraora into the attacker there in order to play that Tapu Koko Prism Star. So that Tapu Koko, of course, is going to power up that Pikachu and Zekrom, but it's got to power up something else as well. So now he's going to choose to go with Zeraora for that secondary energy attachment. And that's exactly what he did there. So now that he emptied his bench out a little bit, he can play another attacker. And he might not have access to it, though, as he goes with double custom catcher plus a switch to promote that Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia before it can even get started. And now you're going to see Pikachu and Zekrom do what it does best, kind of rush its opponent down. Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia hasn't even had a chance to attack yet, and it's already been damaged heavily. And now we see a secondary attacker get powered up here for Jon Eng in that Zeraora GX. Maybe not the ideal secondary attacker, but hey, you'll take it.
But you know what? It's not the end of the world. He does run Energy Switch, so he is able to get those energy onto a different attacker if he so chooses. So Zeraora GX, not the worst thing to be putting on. It can attack itself, and that Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, not much HP left, so... You know,
here's a
maybe
question.
Zeraora could put in the work.
Maybe he attaches it onto the Pikachu. Like there's a lot of options here. The turn is not over for Jon Eng.
Yes, they haven't actually hit onto a Pokemon.
And it looks like they go to Zeraora. So you see how the limited options that John has available to him are starting to kind of affect him. Once again, has a couple of Dedennes with the Jirachi to fill up the bench. So you kind of have to make do. You play energies onto the Zeraora, which means you are now preparing yourself for the mid game if you're John. Clifton, on the other hand, look at his spot. His spot is not any healthier. Has to attach a second energy. That's going to be a rainbow energy, so that's a little bit more damage onto that Arceus, Alga, and Palkia. And now you have a heavily damaged ADP, and it hasn't even used its GX attack yet. It hasn't even altered creation yet.
Yeah, it certainly feels like this is the kind of matchup where the players will ask questions of each other. Now I have the momentum, now you have to do something. So it really swings back and forth, and you really have to respond every single turn. You can't miss a beat.
And what's Clifton's response here? Like, he had just attached the second energy onto ADP. Like, yes, he has Metal Saucers available to him eventually, right? And that's exactly what he's going to bank on. He's going to need to find these cards, but, like, that's a lot of pressure on Clifton's side.
Yeah, ideally, an Arceus, Dialga, Palkia player will try to find a Mallow and Lana to heal that damage off after a full blitz has dealt damage. But yeah, really awkward. Unfortunately, Clifton wasn't able to find that. And I'd say the ball is really in John's court now.
Well, maybe John agrees. John plays Professor's Research, discarding 3 cards to draw 7. Pretty nice exchange, if you ask me. Does he find another Pokemon, potentially a Raichu and a Alolan Raichu? We know one of them's prized.
I see a third
Does he only play one, maybe?
I see a third Dedenne. I see a Pikachu and Zekrom GX. And a Zapdos. Zapdos not really wanting to have 3 energy attached to it, but, you know, if it comes to it, why not?
You know, Tapu Koko V would be a great Pokemon to find here. Of course, the Raichu and Alolan Raichu is already prized, and it's not going to be seeing the field here.
Looks like he's going to...
Looks like we're going for a second Pikachu and Zekrom tag team. Not a terrible choice, of course, as Full Blitz is still a powerful attack, and you have a lot of hit points in 240. It's hard for your opponent to get there if they don't have any energy, right?
Yeah, I mean, and if we look at the board, what's going to happen after this potential attack, John will go ahead 3 prizes. So, you know, it could be that 2 Pikachu and Zekrom GXs are enough to sweep the game.
Well, there we go. There is a 3-prize knockout for Jon Eng, as Pikachu and Zekrom has finished off its job against Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia. And that's going to be a 3-prize advantage for John, plus a whole lot of energy. So, like, even reset stamps don't really get you anywhere if you're in Clifton's spot.
And so really it's up to Clifton to respond here. He has to find things like Metal Saucer to power up that Zacian V on the bench. A couple of Metal Saucers even.
Oh, yes, no doubt.
And an attachment. So it's not easy. This is definitely not an easy position for Clifton to be in. But if any deck can do it, it's got to be the hyped deck. It's got to be Arceus, Dialga, Palkia.
Well, it's hyped for a reason, right? These cards are powerful. We have seen Dark Patch in the past. We have seen how powerful attaching energies from your discard pile can be with the use of an item card. And if you find enough of them, then you're going to return a knockout onto Pikachu and Zekrom. And then all of a sudden, Pikachu and Zekrom may not have what it takes to return that final knockout, or to return a knockout right back to that Zacian. So Clifton maybe has a window here, but it's a tight window, and you have to find a lot of resources if you're Clifton.
So he's thinning his deck here with Quick Ball just to potentially hit that, make it easier to hit things like Metal Saucer with Stellar Wish when he does choose to use it. It's going to be a lot to ask. He does have to find that 1 energy to attach, and potentially 2 Metal Saucers, or if he really wants to go for it, 3 Metal Saucers.
Fione.
So we see an attachment there to Zacian V.
And it looks like it's found in order to get discarded with a Professor's Research. 7 new cards drawn. Do we see some saucers?
I see a couple of Switch.
Switches are fine, but saucers are what you're looking for.
Maybe 3 Switch. Yeah, I didn't see a whole lot of Metal Saucer. I mean, Jirachi gives you another opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, if you have maybe another Jirachi to go with your hand, maybe at that point you can take advantage of your switches.
I think he discarded one. He chose to discard it with Quick Ball
well,
earlier.
there's 1 Metal Saucer. If he has 1 in hand, that's going to be 3 energies. I'm not sure if he has it in hand, though. He does find 1. I just did not get a very good look at his hand. His hand is going to be what determines if he can attack here or not.
I saw a lot of Switch. I saw a Great Catcher. Great Catcher, an incredibly powerful card in this matchup when you're facing so many GX Pokemon, but not when you can't attack, not when you don't have the energy to attack. So we'll see. Plays 1 Metal Saucer.
And we'll see if the Metal Saucer gets attached onto the Zacian with 1 energy already on it. Sure enough, it does. 1 more energy to go. Do we have access to it?
Oh,
is that
it?
Metal
Saucer.
Was that a second Metal Saucer? It was a second Metal Saucer. So things are not looking bad here. About exactly what you needed if you're Clifton. And here we go. Zacian coming up. And Pikachu going down.
And that's an exact knockout as well. Pikachu and Zekrom GX actually has resistance to metal Pokemon. Yes. So He needed that Altered Creation GX to be used to be able to knock out that Pikachu and Zekrom.
Look at that, by the way. See how John was ahead 3 prizes to 6, and then all of a sudden Clifton takes a 4-prize knockout with that the use of the Altered Creation plus a knockout onto Pikachu and Zekrom tag team. So what do you do here, John? What can John respond with?
Yeah, really difficult to respond, I would say. Were we ever skeptical this deck could do this? Oh, no, I don't think we were we? But
well, it's Aurora, Pikachu, and Zekrom. That's where your energy's at.
the usual response for a Pikachu and Zekrom GX would be something like that Raichu and Alolan Raichu GX.
Exactly, but it was prized.
Can't see that anywhere in play. Certainly if it did, for some reason, hit the board this turn, doesn't have any energy on it. So you'd have to energy switch a whole bunch of energy, play a lightning energy onto it as well to even have a chance at knocking out this Zacian V. And it's really bearing down on you. In these cases, a lot of the time, players will, if they can't achieve the knockout, if they need an extra turn to get a few pieces, they'll maybe put out a one-prize Pokemon, something like that Jirachi that's on John's bench. But you can't when you're versing Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia, because it takes 2 prizes off a 1-prize attacker. It looks like John has actually found that Raichu.
Well, he did take 3 prizes, so it's no surprise that he found the Raichu, but, I mean, the Raichu has no energy on it. How many energy switches can he have?
Oh, and Custom Catcher
Found
for
a
1.
radar, but there's a third Dedenne in play. Well, here we go. A final Dedenne change potentially. 6 new cards drawn.
We see 1 Electro Power. Electro Power is what John actually needs to potentially get him there. He has not used his GX move.
So remember, you deal 160 base with Plasma Fist, so you're talking about 1 Electro Power gets you up to 190. Oh, it's still...
But Pikachu and Zekrom also has a GX move.
Oh, you're right. It
Which
does.
is 200 damage, so usually people would use that for the additional effect of dealing 170 to a benched Pokemon as well, but, when you're in the situation that John's in, sometimes 230 is, just enough. That's all you need.
Well, it's still close. John looking through his options.
There's a lot of good cards left in his deck. It's really interesting that we haven't seen that Thunder Mountain Prism Star come into play at all, that Stadium card. It's usually the kind of thing you see on the first or second turn of the game in these Pikachu and Zekrom GX decks, but in this case, it looks like John didn't need it, perhaps.
So did John take play an Electro Power right now?
There is one in his hand. He has not played one yet.
So he's not played it. There's a Volkner, potentially a second Electro Power.
Just the Electro Power? Yeah, just the Electro Power.
Which will be enough for the
That will be
Plasma
the knockout
Fist.
right there. And that's going to mean that John is going to be able to go down to 1 prize remaining and leave Clifton with no energy in play.
I mean, this is what we said, right?
Yeah,
these two decks, they go at it like this.
We literally were talking about how this is exactly what you need to do. Once the prizes start coming down, you need to have a response. And these responses are not easy to have. Clifton needed double Metal Saucer, and now John needed double Electro Power. There it is. The double Electro Power knocks out Clifton's Zacian, and down goes Zacian. Down goes all of the energies in Clifton's field. 1 prize remaining for John, and no attackers left for Clifton, despite only needing 2 prizes. All he needs to do is knock out a Jirachi, but how?
Can he do it again? Can he get multiple metal sources? I think there's 3 in the discard pile, so I'm not sure if that play is available to him.
Yeah, how many are in the discard pile? That's the real question right there. We see that he has access to a Jirachi, so he can sell or wish once. I mean, the deck is starting to thin down a little bit, despite still being somewhat large. I'm not sure. I don't know. Like, we were talking about how you can't stumble, but how do you not stumble in this spot? How does Clifton find an answer here?
And John has so many options to attack with as well. If Clifton tried to put out a Pokemon to maybe buy himself 1 or 2 extra turns in the game, John has so many options to just be able to knock that out with Pokemon that can deal 160 or 200 damage. Looks like he's just going to throw his cards away and have a go at looking at some more.
So was that a professor's research?
I think so, yeah, to discard all those. Oh, Dedenne GX.
Dedenne, okay, it was a Dedenne.
Where's a tag call now?
Tag called, just not finding anything.
Yeah, really have to question what are the options available to Clifton. Doesn't have any other attackers in the field other than this Zacian V.
I don't know how you're going to get the final prize, the final knockout, I should say, of your Clifton.
Unless you're going to do
No energy in play, except for that 1 medal on Zacian.
And there aren't really any Pokemon you can promote either to be able to buy yourself time. Did find a Metal Saucer though. That's going to put one extra metal energy onto that Zacian V.
So that's one metal saucer, but you still need one more. Has he played up research yet? Maybe not. There's that research. Is there one more metal saucer left in the deck? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more card to go. Is there a metal saucer anywhere? I don't see it. I don't see a metal saucer. There's a very low deck count. Is there a metal saucer in the top of the deck now? There's a reset stamp. So reset stamp going to shuffle Jon's hand back in, only allow him to have access to one card.
Judge is indicating there that the reset stamp has been selected off the
But
Stellar
not
Wish,
played.
but deciding what, Clifton could have still potentially been deciding whether to play it or not.
Correct.
Looks
And
like he was playing.
it is getting played, so that means Jon's hand goes back, and only one card comes back into Jon's hand. It's a Jirachi, so nothing there. Now,
And that's what Clifton had to do.
And
He had
that's
to
it.
put this Zacian V in the active because it's the only Pokemon that can't instantly be knocked out by anything on Jon's side of the field in its current state.
that's a great play by Clifton. It just extends the game potentially. It makes Jon have something, and if Jon doesn't, then Clifton can definitely get a knockout, you would think.
Yeah, it could actually be the game-winning play. He just needs one extra energy to knock out essentially anything on Jon's side of the field and take those last two prizes. So
You see Jon just shuffling these two cards around. He's looking for an answer. He's looking for something to do. He has not used the GX attack yet, but I mean, the GX attacks just aren't going to work in this spot, right?
and I think he's actually looking for...
Oh, he top decked the research. He top decked the professor's
We're
research.
looking for an electro power, but I don't think there were any left in deck. He did Vulcaner the last one out of...
Oh, he top decked the professor's research. I did not see that.
And so I believe this is probably the
Well-
coolest GX move we're going to go into.
It's time to Tingly return GX.
Did you expect to see this GX
I
move
did
being
not
used?
expect a Tingly return GX
is-
when I was sitting down to cast this match with you.
This is excellent. So, I mean, Jon may have just bought himself a turn. So now the ball
Oh
is
my
back in the
goodness.
court of Clifton, but it looks
A
like
metal,
he finds
and
a
that's
switch.
a switch. So that is going to be the game going to Clifton Goh, as he did have that switch. Jon found an answer. He found a way out of it with that Tingly Return GX. That's knowing your cards, because I can tell you that he has probably not used that more than a handful of times.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, like we were talking about before, that's what the sort of higher level players are doing. They're aware of every single option available to them. And that was a really exciting game. That was really fun. I think we saw so many different strategies coming out from both players in an effort to keep up with the pace of the game.
But at the same time, we just saw Clifton have the answer. He found a way in to put himself in that winning position, realized that there was no way that a reset stamp to 1 was going to, well, I shouldn't say no way, but very little way that a reset stamp to 1 would not provide him with an additional turn after promoting the Zacian. Of course, the Zacian with 220 hit points, just enough to stay in there, to stay in the fight, and sure enough, that final knockout after finding the switch to get rid of that paralysis. Just a great game played by Clifton, and honestly, a great game played by Jon as well. It was just, like we said, haymaker versus haymaker. At some point or another, somebody has to flinch, and if somebody flinches, the other person is probably going to win that game.
Yeah, it was a great demonstration of how both decks work and how aggressive they both are. From Jon's side, I would like to see more of that Alolan Raichu and Raichu GX. It didn't really come into play as much. But we're going to have to see if he can get that one. Maybe it's not prized this time. That would be ideal. It looks like Jon, he's got a couple of really interesting cards that we didn't see last game. Tapu Koko V among them in his opening hand.
Okay, wow, that was a great game. That was a really great game 1, and we are already shuffled up and ready to go for game 2. No slow play here, as we do see the prizes taken for both players. We see a Dedenne for Clifton. Honestly, not too bad of prizes that I noticed, and Jon does start things off here in this second game. Remember, Jon's got to win 2 in a row in order to take this round and advance to 4-0.
Yeah.
Clifton, only 1 game to go.
Sorry, I was going to say a couple of those attackers that we haven't seen, we didn't see at all last game, which is Tapu Koko V and the Raichu tag team as well. Potentially coming into play and maybe changing the course of the game for Jon here as well.
We already see the first Dedenne of the game here for Jon. Jon just loves kind of extending his board as much as possible and just getting an early advantage if he can find it. And now a Stellar Wish finding a potential supporter for the turn. We still have yet to see a supporter played for Jon. So Jon just hoping to, well, of course, can't play supporter if you're going first, but Jon just hoping to start setting up his board. If he can get a turn 2 attack going, he's going to be in fine shape. We know that it's going to be an exchange no matter what we end up seeing, but you want to prepare yourself as well as possible in order to make sure that you give yourself the best chance to come ahead in this haymaker race. Now Clifton gets to start his first turn of the game after John passes, and right away we see a Stellar Wish after an escape board played. The Stellar Wish maybe finding maybe a quick ball or something along those chances. Remember, Clifton looking to put a energy onto Arceus Dialga and Palkia before the end of this turn.
Yeah, I mean, his hand looks like a whole lot of interesting stuff that you want to see in the mid to late game, but not necessarily in the early game. So a couple of Zacians are great to see, but there are also a couple of metal sources in there, so it's not the greatest start perhaps for Clifton.
Well, yeah, maybe not. Remember, I see the quick ball. Quick ball is the first thing that I like to see. I really want to see an Arceus Dialga Palkia before we see the end of this turn here for Clifton. So I'm happy about that, but at the same time, it looks like Guzma and Hala is going to be the supporter of choice here for Clifton, discarding his Zacian. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of a game plan he's coming up with right now.
And I think a lot of the Arceus Dialga Palkia decks have that quite linear strategy, really, which is you want to attack with Arceus Dialga and Palkia as soon as possible. So I'd be surprised if we didn't see one of those hit the field at some point, but I'd like to see him definitely get at least one energy attachment to it.
Well, that's Guzman and Hala for you, right? Like, that's how you get your special energy. That's how you get your Aurora energy, for example, or maybe a Rainbow, and you start setting yourself up. Like, that's kind of why I'm assuming he's going to be playing this Guzman Hala, wants to set himself up for an almost assured Altered Creation GX on the second turn. And we see the 3 cards found. It looks like it's an escape board, a Rainbow Energy, I believe, and I didn't take a look at that third, the Stadium.
Decided to get rid of the escape board straight away with a quick ball.
Yeah, I already have one in play on your Jirachi. It was basically just going to be fodder for that quick ball, and now quick ball finds himself that Arceus and Dialga and Palkia.
I would say a lot better start from Clifton than from John. John actually wasn't able to see an energy card on his turn. I don't think an energy card hit the discard pile, and there certainly isn't one in play. So that's a little bit awkward for him in a deck that really relies on accelerating the energy really quickly and getting loads of energy into play onto that, especially Pikachu and Zekrom GX as quickly as possible.
Yeah, another thing for John's board is that it's already kind of full. Like, even if you get rid of the Tapu Koko, you're still going to have space for one more Pikachu and Zekrom, which means you have one spot really to mess around with right now if you're in John's shoes. So John's board is a little bit uncomfortable. Clifton, on the other hand, is probably just going to pass the turn after playing, going to pass the turn with an Intrepid Sword after attaching that energy with onto the Arceus Dialga and Palkia. So having a 220 hit point Pokemon as your active Pokemon, it's just comfortable if you're in Clifton's spot.
Oh,
John now needs to have a big turn here.
But like we saw last game, a big turn is doable from either player. It could just come out of anywhere, especially when you're playing cards like that Tapu Koko Prism, that Thunder Mountain Prism, Prism Star Stadium. So John, with Pikarom, there's so many decisions you can make, right? You have so many cards that allow you to search your deck and pick specific things.
And right away we see a Stellar Wish out of John. Has a couple of options, including a quick ball. Also likely going to be playing like something along the lines of a Volkner this turn. So do we have a turn to Pikachu and Zekrom here is really what I'm wondering. Like, we have no energy in the discard pile yet. I only see one energy in hand, I believe.
Yeah, I think that might be the factor that's the most problematic for John is the lack of energy. These decks rely so much on using Tapu Koko Prism Star's ability Dance of the Ancients to get energy cards from the discard pile onto the Pokemon that you have in play, and so if you don't have energy in the discard pile, well, you're not really accelerating energy anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you have great cards that help you set up. You have of course, your Thunder Mountain. You have your Tapu Koko, Prism Star. That's how you get your consistency, right? But I mean, they need help. The Tapu Koko needs the Lightnings in the discard, and currently it doesn't have any. Now there's a Volkner that might get him there. Remember, Volkner going to find a Lightning Energy and an item card.
But I'm not sure that one energy will be enough, so we're going to have to see if he's able to find another way to get more energy into play. Eyeing up that Stadium Nav as well. That will, if he is able to land one heads on Stadium Nav, will find him that Thunder Mountain Prism Star.
And that is a Stadium Nav. So a nice little item card. You kind of see how Volkner, Tag Call, these cards kind of like help you chain reaction and find cards that you normally wouldn't have very much access to if you play your deck, if you build your deck correctly. Now John looks to be flipping for the Stadium Nav, and I believe got one heads. which is exactly what you need.
Yeah, he just pointed to that and went, that's okay, I'm only getting one stadium. And this is exactly what it's going to be.
Thunder Mountain, the powerful, powerful Prism Star stadium. Just, it's built an archetype all on its own. Really,
Yeah.
Pikachu and
absolutely.
Zekrom would not exist if it wasn't for this Thunder Mountain.
You hear so many people say when they're playing the deck as well, oh, I lost. Oh, why did you lose? Oh, I prized my Thunder Mountain, which is why it's such a crucial card to have.
And there is that Thunder Mountain. Great catcher actually is going to be how you discard that lightning energy onto your into your discard pile. So Tapu Koko only going to be finding one energy, but that's okay. That's what you need. That lightning energy. Now a switch onto Tapu Koko V, and that's Electro Power. And now I believe the Dene for Dede change. That's the final Pokemon we see in play. Do we have a
Oh.
lightning energy? We
Did
need a lightning
not
energy.
find
I
a
do not
lightning
see a lightning
energy.
energy, Ellis.
There are so many in this deck. Where are they? Are they all prized?
Oh man, where are the lightning energies?
That's really
My
crippling
heart
for
just
John.
sank to the pit of my stomach. I cannot believe that happened. John just made this basically all in play, and there's 3 of those lightning energies right there. So we do see why we're seeing a little bit of a struggle to get these lightnings, and all we can see is an attack out of Tapu Koko V. This is not irrelevant. Dealing 60 damage is not irrelevant. Of course, you want to accelerate your energies, but that 60 damage does start to set you up for a knockout on the following turn. You already have Electro Power, so you were setting yourself up for a 2-turn knockout. But I mean, that's just not what you want to see. It just really isn't.
And it looks like John
And that's
scoops
the
up the
scoop.
game.
Wow, what a quick game. Unfortunate for John, as that second game just nothing went his way. Really, all he was forced to do was extend the hand, as Clifton Goh was just able to easily take this second game due to a lot of missing from John's part.
Yeah, it all came down to finding that energy card. It was apparently, we didn't realize it at the time, but quite a desperation play from John. He had to find an energy card off that Dede change to be able to attack that turn.